Uh, Good evening, everyone. Yesterday, we started the class, but I think it's only one people who started. Right now, I'm the only one online as well, but I will go on to do the lectures. You can have access to the recordings that you can watch, or you can as well as read from the textbook. So I'm starting. So today, what I want to cover, it will be this. Still now, we are dealing with chapter 1. That is demand and supply. So we have looked at demand and supply. So first of all, under this one, we have looked at, before that we looked at what is economics. It's a brief introduction to the meaning of economics. We have looked at demand, that is the behavior of buyers. Last class we looked at supply. We haven't finished it, so today we'll continue with it. So on the supply today, I want to talk about shift. Shift in supply curve. Shift in supply curve. I will look at shift in supply curve. This is what we will look at today. Shift in supply curve.
Is that today? Afternoon.
Afternoon.
Iwenyadi.
I'm fine. How are you?
Fine, fine.
All right.
Iwenyadi.
Alhamdulillah.
Family Iwenyadi.
They are good. Everyone is fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So we look at shifting supply curve. From there, we will look at what we will bring demand and supply together. That is demand and supply together. So we'll also look at change in equilibrium price and quantity. So these are some of the things we will look at today if time permits us. So we will start with this shift in supply curve. So we will have this. So let's look at what do we mean by shift in supply curve. So shift in supply curve. So when we say shift in supply curve, we mean that increased. What we mean is just like increase. It could be increase or decrease. Increase or decrease. in supply. So increase will mean that increase, that is shift to the right. So shift to the right, that is when we said increase in supply curve. So that's what we mean by that. So when we say decrease in supply, what we mean is that when a supply curve shifts to the left. So for example, let's look at a diagram here, shift to the right. For example, let's say this is our supply curve. Then we have a price here, and we have quantity here. And let's say that this is our original supply curve at S1. So there is let's say that there is an increase in supply. So if there is an increase in supply, it will shift to the right, like here. And we can call this S2. Remember, the shift in supply curve is caused by other factors, not by price. It's caused by factors other than price. So the price will be constant here. So the supply curve could increase from here. Let's say this is 4. Price is the same, but the supply can increase from here, this could be 6. So we have our supply here. On the vertical, horizontal, we have quantity. So we see that the supply curve is shift from S1 from here to here. So a shift to the left or decrease in supply, we can represent it as this. Let's say we have our initial supply curve. This is quantity, and this is the price. So let's say the initial curve was this, that is S1. So because of some reason at a price here, let's say let's even give a numerical value to the price. Let's say the price was 2. So the quantity supplied was 4. For some reasons, factors that shift supply curve, you understand, maybe lead to negative influence on supply, then the curve
Look, online class.
The supply curve shift to S2. So we can have it most probably here. So the quantity will reduce to 4. So we will see that the price is constant, but the supply decreased from 4 to 2. So the next question that we could ask is, what are some of the factors that can cause supply to shift? What could be the reason why supply? Can we mute our mic, please? The one talking.
It's Geneva.
Which Monday? I don't follow.
So we see that there can be shift in supply. The shift can be to the right, which is the same as increase in supply. The shift could be to the left, which means decrease in supply. So we have demonstrated that. The next question is what are some of the variables that could cause shift in supply curve? We will look at 4 or 5 variables. So the variables that causes shift in supply curve. One, it could be the price. The price is not cause movement along the supply curve. So it could be input prices. That is cost of production. For example, if the cost of production goes high, obviously supply will reduce. So what is the relationship? Is an inverse or negative relationship. So we will also see that another factor or variable that could cause shift in supply curve could be what? Technology. So when technology improve, supply also could increase. Could increase as well. Like especially if it's a positive technology. Increasing good advance in technology could lead to higher in supply as well. So there is a positive relationship there. Expectation also could affect the curve of supply curve or cause the shift in supply curve. So expectation is another variable or factor that could cause shift in supply curve. So another variable also could be the number of buyers. If the more number of sellers, the more sellers we have in the market, the higher the quantity of supply we have in the market. So we will see that if these input prices, if they increase, if input price increase, it will lead to what? Lower supply. And this lower supply, it will shift the demand, it will shift the supply curve to the left. So it will shift it to the left. And when it shifts to the left, we will say that there is a decrease in supply like here. So when there is an advance, let's say the increase mean advance in technology, it will lead to what? Increase in supply. So an increase in supply means that the supply curve what will shift to, this is shift to left. So this will
right.
shift to right.
Right.
So for expectation, it depends. So expectation could come in many ways. So when the farmer or this, how to call it, the supplier of a good expect that there will be increase in future price, what will happen? He will reduce the supply today. So this supply is a current supply. It will reduce the current supply today so that in the future when price increases, then he or she will supply more to the market. So decrease in supply, it means, shift to the left.
Increase the supply.
So if there is an expectation of what? Price will increase, future price. Understand? We expect that there will increase in future price. The seller will not bring many goods to the market because he or she will wait until the price increases so that he or she can have more profitability. So what he will do or she will do, he will reduce the supply today. So when he reduces the supply today, then the supply curve will shift to the left, which is the same as decrease in supply. So what about the number of sellers? If there is an increase in the number of sellers, obviously it will lead to what? Increasing
Right.
supply. So an increase in supply means what? A shift to the right.
Right.
So these are some of the variables. They cause shift in supply curve. So it is important we distinguish what is a movement along the supply curve. For example, movement along the supply curve. We need to know what we mean by this versus what? Shift in the supply curve. So we need to distinguish these two things. They are totally different terminologies or concept. So here, movement along the supply curve is caused solely by what? Change in prices. Price changes. So with a graph like this, so we have our vertical axis where we have our P, which is the price. And on the horizontal axis, we have the quantity supply. So initially, let's say we start here. And the price, when price is 3, so the quantity supplied was how much? Let's assume it's 4. So let's assume that for some reason there is an increase in price, so 4. So let's say price increase to 4 here. What will be the quantity? Let's say the quantity supplied could be, let's say 6. Let's say that if there's a reduction in price to 2, so then the quantity supplied could be 2. So at the price of 2. So we see that the movement here, we call it, let's call here A, here B, C. So if you look at it from A to B to C, we call it movement along the supply curve. And this movement, APC, is caused by change in prices. But if we come to shift in the supply curve, one thing we need to know is caused by these factors like input prices, technology, expectation, and number of sellers. It's not caused by prices, but only by input. Maybe there was a change in input prices, that is cost of production, or a change in technology, expectation, number of buyers. So it's important we know these differences. So for example, let's say that we have our original supply curve here. On here we have quantity. On the vertical axis we have the price. So let's say we already started here, the supply curve. So this is S1. So let's say that at price 3, the quantity demanded was 4, just like this one. So let's assume that because let's say that the number of sellers increases, we said that if the number of sellers increases, supply will increase. And when supply increases, we said shift to the right. So meaning that this supply curve here will shift to the right. It will come out like this. So we can take another color and represent it. So because of increasing the number of sellers, the supply curve shift to the right. So this price will be constant. So what we do, we extend this. This will be our new point. So we have a price at price of 3. We have quantity demanded, quantity supplied rather 6. So remember, the price is constant. It's quantity supply that is increasing, and this increase is caused by what? Increase in the number of sellers. So the supply curve also can shift to the left depending on what happens to these variables. Let's say that if the technology is not favorable, the supply curve might shift. The supply curve might shift to the left. That's a possibility. You understand? So there could be a shift. So here, so at this price, we could have here also 2. So this shift in supply curve to the left, it could be caused by a negative technology. Or when there's an increase in input price, there's an increase in input price. When we are speaking to the third party, let's endeavor and mute our mics, please. All right, so let's continue on. So we know that what is the difference between movement along the supply curve and shift in the supply curve. So now that we know that, we have achieved one of our objectives for today, that is to understand shift in supply curve. So now our next topic is this: demand and supply together. Now we are looking at the full market. We are looking at we want to bring the behaviors of buyers and sellers together. So this one is done. So we look at demand, supply and demand together. Okay. So demand and supply together. So we want to see how the behavior of buyers and sellers in the market will lead to some equilibrium conditions in the market. So when we said demand, obviously we have talked about this, that we are talking about what the behavior of buyers, or how they make decisions. So supplier, we said what? We are studying the behavior or the choice process of the sellers. So first, what we have done, we have looked at this, we have looked at them separately in isolation. But obviously, buyers don't make decision in isolation, and sellers don't make decision in isolation. They have to interact with each other. So when they interact with each other, then we have something called a market. So when there's a buyers and sellers interacting with each other, you know, we have a market. And then we will have a conditions. We have a result. As they interact with each other, we will have some equilibrium conditions. So when they interact with each other, you know, there will be a condition that we call equilibrium. So we will have equilibrium conditions in the market. So an equilibrium condition, an equilibrium is a point where an equilibrium is a situation whereby the both buyers and sellers, they are satisfied with the market outcome. So when we say equilibrium, it's a situation whereby the participants in the markets are both happy. So, Ami, can you mute your mic, please? When you are talking, please, the first thing you should do is to mute your mic so that you won't disturb the class. And the best is like when you are having a lectures, if there is no third party, it will be far better. Let's continue. So we have an equilibrium condition. So the interaction between the buyers and sellers, it will lead to something called equilibrium in the market. And what is equilibrium? So when we talk about equilibrium, it's just refer to a situation in which the price has reached the level where quantity supply, you know, is at a price level. So equilibrium is a situation in a market where quantity demanded, we can call this, equals to quantity supply. So, and this quantity whereby the demand and supply are equated, you know, it will also lead to what? Equilibrium quantity and also equilibrium price. So equilibrium is just a situation whereby the quantity demanded, that is how much the buyers want to buy, is equals to how much the sellers want to sell. So it's just a situation in a market where quantity demanded is equals to quantity supplied. And at this price, we call it equilibrium price. So it's a situation. So buyers going to interact with sellers. And when this interaction reach at a point where both of them are happy, we call it equilibrium point. At this equilibrium point, you know, the demand should be equal to supply. And at this price, equilibrium price, also each participant in the market, they are fully satisfied as long as you have the willingness and ability to buy and sell. So first, we need to understand what is equilibrium. It's just a situation in which the price has reached the level where quantity supply is equal to quantity demanded. So equilibrium level is the amount of goods and services that buyers and sellers wanted to buy and sell. They are willing and able to buy and sell in the market. So the interaction will always lead to equilibrium conditions. So when we look at equilibrium, we can even look at graphically. So when we say this is equilibrium price, so it's just the price that makes sure that the quantity demanded is equal to quantity supply. So let's look at this. So the concept that we need to understand here is that we need to know what we mean by equilibrium quantity. So it's the quantity at which demand is equal to supply, then we also need to know equilibrium price. So these are the two concept takeaways that we need to know. So let's look at this graphically, or before even graphically, let's look at the schedule. Let's look at demand schedule and see, because the graph always comes from the demand. So let's look at supply schedule here, which we have looked at before. So let's say that, let's say this is a demand schedule for ice cream. So let's say we have this here, price of ice cream.
Nah.
So let's just say this is the quantity that the market demand. So let's say that the price of 0, then we have at 50 butts. Then here we have 19. Here we have 16. Let's say that the price of $1 ice cream, then the demand was 13. Let's say that the price of 1.5. The quantity demanded was 10. At the price of $2, the quantity of ice cream demanded was 7. So at the price of $2.50 butut, the quantity demanded was 4. And at the price of 3, the demand was 1. So let's look at the supply schedule, the same, let's say the price, this is the price of ice cream. So price of ice cream. So and then the quantity supplied. So we have this and this and this and this. So let's say this is price of 0, 50 bututs, $1, 1.50 bututs, $2 is $50 bututs, and $3 is. So here the supply is 19. Then we have 16, 13, 10. We have 7, then 4, 1. So let's look at this. We could say this. I'm repeating the same thing. Let's take it more practical. Okay. Well, what we could do, I'm trying to make this as okay. Let's just take this 19 because the price should be, the quantity supply should be decreasing. So this is more of demand. So 10, 1. So it's this area that should change. All right. So let's say when the price is 0, let's say 18, or yeah. So the price is increasing. Let's just say 16. Let's just say 14. 12. This is 7. Okay. This is 4. Then 1. Aha. So this makes more sense. The price is increasing. The quantity demanded is going down. Yeah, the price is in, let's see. Still now, this is not making sense. This year price is increasing. This should be increasing as well. All right. So let's erase this. We make it as practical as possible. All right. So here the price is increasing. So we can have 18. Let's say, let's start here with, let's say 6, 9, let's see, let's see 14. Okay, and here we have 17, 19, and 20. Good. So we see here the price, when price is increasing here, the quantity demanded is going down. So if we are going down, if you pay attention here, the price is going down, mean the price is increasing. So going down here, as price increases for demand has to go down. Here, as price is increasing, the quantity supplied is increasing. So when we talked about equilibrium in the market, because here this is a demand schedule which represent the behavior of buyers. This is a supply schedule which represent the behavior of the seller. So they are interacting. So when we talk about equilibrium, we want to look at a point whereby quantity supplied, that is this, is equals to quantity demanded. So if we look at that very well, we will see that at the price of 1, quantity demanded is 14, and quantity supplied is what? 14.
Also 14.
At what price? At $1 is. So 14 will be what? Our equilibrium quantity. That will be 14. So our equilibrium price will be what? 1. So this is the schedule that we have, but we can also graph this as well. So we can also graph this as well. So if we graph it, it will look like this. Drawing graph here could be horrible, but we can just say demand and the equilibrium, we can label it as the equilibrium of demand and supply. So next 10 minutes, this will go off, but we can log back and continue with the lectures. So we have that. So now what we did here is just a schedule representation, whereby we have our equilibrium price and quantity, which is 14 and 1 respectively. So we can go on and draw our graph here. So here will be the price of the ice cream and then the quantity demanded of ice cream. So we will have something like this. Let's say we have demand represented as this. This is demand. Then we have supply. So this is where they meet, and this is the equilibrium point. So at equilibrium point, we will have other 2 points. We call them the price, which is this, and the quantity. So we know that the price was 1. If you look at the table here, is this, which is the same as here for the supply schedule. So we have our 1 here. Then the quantity, we all know that is the demand was 14 and the supply was 14. So we have it here. So here, this is our equilibrium point. So this is our equilibrium quantity demanded. And the one is what our equilibrium price. So you will see that the behavior, the interaction of the behaviors of buyers and sellers causes equilibrium in the market, and that will lead us, give us the price as well as the quantity. So when we have equilibrium, sometimes this is the optimal point. This is a point whereby every seller or every participant in the market that can afford ice cream at 1, they are happy. This is the optimal point. But in the market, before equilibrium takes place, sometimes it can take time. It can take time. So there are situations whereby we could be operating above or below the equilibrium. So there are sometimes whereby the market might be operating below or above the equilibrium point, which is here. For example, we can have a situation like this. We have our supply, in short, S, then we have our demand. So where they intersect the equilibrium, then we have equilibrium, we have quantity here, that is equilibrium, we can represent it as this. And then we have the price, which is the equilibrium price. But sometimes the market could be here, above the equilibrium price. So we can have a situation, in fact, we have 1 here, let's be consistent. For consistency's sake, let me not use variable, but let me use the same number. We have 1 here, and then we have 14 here. So there could be a possibility, we have 1 here, and then we have 14 here. So the price might be above, it might be 2 here. You understand? We might be operating at 2. So when we are operating at 2, you realize that this is the quantity that is demanded, and you realize that this is the quantity that is a supply. So you realize that here, the supply, which is this one, is greater than this. So if you even bring it down, you will realize that this is the quantity. Remember, it touched the demand curve. So this is the quantity. So at 2, let's see. So at 2 here, the quantity demanded was 7. And the quantity that was supplied was 19. So there is a huge, huge difference. So you will see that at 2, we will have 7 and 19. So quantity that was demanded was how much? Was 7. So it's 7, this will be 7, but the quantity that was supplied was how much? 19. So at equilibrium here, quantity demanded is this and quantity supplied is this. But when price increases to 2, the quantity supplied will be greater than the quantity demanded. And if we look at our table, at 2, at the price of 2 here, the quantities demanded was 7, or is 7, and the quantity supplied is 19. So we will have something called excess supply. So this box here will be what? Excess supply, meaning that supply is greater than demand. So this box here, from here to here, it will be our excess supply, meaning that supply is greater than demand. So how do we calculate our excess supply? If we have the numbers, it will be just 19, this 19 minus 7. So we will have what? 12. So 12 will be our excess supply. So there could be another possibility. Remember, the price is above the equilibrium price. So what if the price, so here, this 19, as I said, is what is our quantity supplied. This 7 is our quantity demanded at the price of 2. So because supply is greater than demand, then we have excess supply in the market. And if you have the numbers here, you can calculate it by subtracting the 19 minus 7, which will give you 12. So 12 is the excess supply. But there is another possibility whereby we might be operating below the equilibrium. So this excess supply, some books you will see what? Surplus. So you will see what? Surplus. So it's the same thing. So the excess supply there or surplus there, it just mean that, you know, we are operating above the equilibrium price. And because of that, the supply is greater than the demand. But another possibility is we could be operating below it also. For example, when we looked at 0.5, when the ice cream is 0.5, let's say the price is 0.5. So you realize also that the supply is what? In fact, let's go to another one. This case is what? Excess supply. So let's look at a situation where so let's look at this because this is very important, it's key for us to understand it. I'm going to graph it again. So same graph, I will bring it here so that we can do more analysis on it. So we will have excess supply. Again, the same analysis. Everything we've talked so far, if you can read it from the book, it's there, well explained as well. So excess supply, meaning it just means that we are operating above the equilibrium price. And because of that, quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded. So let's say we have our supply curve here. Then we also have our demand curve. So they intersect. Where they intersect is the equilibrium. So initially this was 14 that was demanded and supplied at the price of $1. So let's assume that for some reasons, you know, we are operating above the equilibrium. If we are operating above the equilibrium, let's assume that this is the price increased to 2. So you realize that even you go back to your schedule, at the price of 2, demand was 7, while supply was 19. So here we will have, this will be our demand, which is 7, and this will be our quantity supply, which will be 19. So this area here, is the excess supply, or some people call it the surplus